station for the Aggies. News Talk KVNU, 102 FM, 610 AM. And on Alexa, Google, online, or the KVNU mobile app.
KVNU News Time is 5:03. I'm Bill Walter with this news update brought to you by Roof Rescue. On KVNU's For the People program on Monday, Logan City School District Superintendent Frank Schofield was our guest, and he also brought along a couple of teachers in the district. When it comes to using apps and using technology in the classroom, two teachers were featured. Peyton Faltzlev is a fifth grade teacher at Bridger Elementary and was asked if parents seem afraid of the technology their kids might know a little bit more about.
I think maybe from my perspective with younger students right now, I think there are some parents who are maybe afraid, or they just have, their kids don't have the technological devices yet.
Sure.
But then there are students who do, and I think those parents maybe either don't know as much about it yet, or I don't know, it's hard to put a finger on it for me, but I think a lot of the kids, I guess what I'm trying to say is the parents know more about it, the kids know more about it than the parents, and the parents don't really know to be scared or not scared of it.
But he said that mostly he thinks they would feel it's harmless when that isn't always true. Also on the program was Juan Caballero, who teaches social studies at Logan High School. He uses technology and popular platforms to help students relate to curriculum like history.
There's one time my students were having a hard time connecting with Henry VIII, social studies teacher, and teaching history, and it just doesn't make sense a lot of the time, and told that to them. But I found this app called Fakebook, and I was able to create profiles for Henry VIII, his wife, and the Pope in Italy, and I asked the students to post based on what they think these people would have been saying.
He said the threads that came out of that were fascinating, and the kids were excited to participate, to be part of history. KVNU News Time is 5:05. KVNU weather for tonight, patchy fog developing tonight and into the overnight hours. Could be dense and thick in some areas, partly cloudy otherwise, low in the low 20s. Some thick fog possible in the morning hours tomorrow, burning off, becoming mostly sunny, and a high temperature in the upper 30s on Friday. Sunny, low 40s on Saturday. It's been to 41. It's 41 degrees right now at KVNU. KVNU weather brought to you by Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology, the highest quality for your audiology needs and the best value of today's hearing aid technology through Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology.
Roof Rescue is your local roofing specialist, dedicated to keeping your home safe and dry no matter the weather. Their team of experienced roofers is here to serve you, providing top quality service at affordable prices. From minor repairs to complete roof replacements, they've got you covered. Remember, your roof is your first line of defense in protecting your family from the elements. So don't wait until the next storm to discover your roof problems. Call Roof Rescue today at 435-999-4268. They're your trusted local roofing experts, here to keep your home safe and dry. Roof Rescue, celebrating 10 years of providing watertight peace of mind.
KVNU News Time is 5:06. Bills dealing with turf, landscaping, and water conservation are moving through the Utah legislature. On Wednesday, lawmakers gave final passage to House Bill 11, a water conservation bill sponsored by Representative Doug Owens. Senator Ron Winterton told his Senate colleagues that the bill was modified from its original goal to restrict turf on new government construction after objections from turf farmers. So instead, the bill was modified to allow turf, but to prohibit sprinkler systems and require drip irrigation to water it. Representative Owen said the new version of the bill accomplished the same goal of water conservation, a bill offering incentives to developers to use water-wise landscaping is also winning support. Senate Bill 118, sponsored by Senator Mike McKell, won unanimous approval in the Senate last week and will be considered by a House committee today. There are a series of other bills moving through the legislature to help with water conservation and protecting the Great Salt Lake, which dropped to its lowest level in recorded history in 2022. Lawmakers have been trying to reverse the lake's declines while grappling with growth in the state. And the parents of Gabby Petito, the 22-year-old travel blogger who was killed by her fiancé, Brian Laundrie, settled Wednesday with Laundrie's parents and their attorney in an emotional distress lawsuit and will avoid a civil trial, according to a statement. Nicole Schmidt and Joseph Petito, Gabby's parents, filed a lawsuit against Laundrie's parents, Christopher and Roberta Laundrie, and their attorney, Stephen Bertolino, for intentional infliction of emotional distress in March 2022. They claimed the Laundries were aware of Gabby's murder soon after her death in August 2021 and chose to do nothing other than issue a statement through Bertolino expressing hope that she would be found. On Wednesday, the two sides came together to an agreement to avoid a civil trial that would have begun in May. Bertolino said in a statement that he and the Laundries participated in mediation and that the terms of the resolution were confidential. Petito's family reported her missing on September 11th, 2021, while she was on a cross-country road trip with Laundrie that included stops in Utah. Her body was found about a week after September 11th in Wyoming's Bridger-Teton National Forest, with a coroner ruling that she had died of blunt force injuries to the head and neck with manual strangulation. Brian Laundrie, who was later found dead of a self-inflicted gunshot wound in a Florida forest, wrote in a notebook that he killed Petito, according to the FBI. KVNU News Time is 5:09. For more details on these and other stories, visit CacheValleyDaily.com.
Senate Bill 210 is a medical emergency at the Utah legislature. Ophthalmologists and optometrists are not the same. Optometrists don't complete medical school, no hospital internship, and no surgical residency. Ophthalmologists are medical doctors with years of surgical training on real patients. Now, optometrists want to perform surgery using lasers on the only eyes you'll ever have. Optometrists are not medical doctors, yet they want Senate Bill 210 to suddenly make them surgeons. Does that make sense to you? Your state legislator can help stop this nonsense by voting no. It takes years of training to make a surgeon. No bill can ever change that. Your legislator can help stop this nonsense. Tell your legislator to keep Utah eyes safe.
Paid for by the Utah Ophthalmology Society.
Bear Lake's annual ski touring competition is Saturday, February 24th, just north of Heritage Park in Garden City. If you're not familiar with this event, just Google ski touring Bear Lake. It's a thrilling spectacle where skiers or snowboarders are pulled by powerful horses through an obstacle course. Riders compete for cash and prizes. You can participate as a contestant or come watch as a spectator. Go to skijoringthebear.com for all the info. Music, food trucks, and fun. Ski Joring, Saturday, February 24th, starting at 10 a.m. in beautiful Bear Lake.
Senior Moments, sponsored by the Empowering Seniors Group on News Talk KVNU.
My name is Bruce Lee. I'm here with my co-host Sid Roeder. We're here for another fun show.
This radio show is sponsored by the Empowering Seniors Group, which is a group of professionals that has dedicated their time and efforts to provide information that is hopefully useful to seniors, their family members, caretakers, and really anybody who's interested.
Senior Moments, every Saturday morning at 7:30, right here on News Talk KVNU.
The message is perfectly simple. The meaning is clear. Don't ever stray too far. And don't disappear. No, don't disappear. Ever had the feeling almost broke into? Said that you were leaving.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. It is hour 2 of today's show, and we have a lot to talk about. The future of Major League Baseball and National Hockey League stadiums was a big discussion on Capitol Hill today. We'll get to that later on in the hour. And a surprise bill that seeks at least to lock in the Utah Jazz Stadium as something that will always be in downtown Salt Lake. Some concern over this after one of the owners it kind of hinted at looking at some new space that's opened up once the state moved the prison with your money out of Draper. We'll talk about this, why all this jockeying is happening now for two things that probably won't happen for years. That's coming up later on in the hour. Kicking things off here this hour, a very special guest joining us, Director of the Brigham City Museum, Alana Blumenthal, joining us now. And I was excited to read this. They are inviting high school students from northern Utah to be a part of an essay contest starting in March. And the winners of this contest will then be included in a big Smithsonian exhibit focused on rural areas and how they've changed over the years, that will open in May at the Brigham City Museum. And Alana, thank you for taking some time for KVNU today. It's a pretty big deal just to get a Smithsonian exhibit, right? But to be able to incorporate this with a local competition and local voices from young people regarding, their experience watching rural Utah change, that's a pretty cool opportunity.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for featuring this opportunity on your program. Yes, we are really fortunate to be the only northern Utah stop for this traveling Smithsonian exhibition. And the theme is Crossroads, Change in Rural America. And so in addition to other programming and the exhibition that we're planning, to be able to invite the students, the people who are living these changes, to get involved, to share their own thoughts and reflect on change that they're seeing in their community and that they see, coming in the future, and then to get to be involved in the programs and even have a few of the essays and artists to be featured right alongside this content from the Smithsonian. We are so excited to have to see what the students create.
This is, what an opportunity to be selected as the winner of one of these, essay competitions. And I should mention art as well. I keep focusing on essay because I'm really excited to get to read the winners and what young people have to say about changing rural America, because that's definitely something that's been happening a lot here in northern Utah, to say the least. But this is also an invitation for art, and this goes out to, correct me if I'm wrong, all students K through 12.
Yes, that is right. All students K through 12. So we have reached out to school districts and to charter schools, and it's also open to homeschool students. All ages K through 12, so we try to phase the questions. They can choose from a number of questions to either create artwork or an essay around things like, for the artwork, maybe draw your backyard or create a representation of something that has changed in your town since you started school. For the essays, one of the questions we're asking is, what would you do if you were mayor? And some of the selected essays from that will actually be read and presented by the mayor of Brigham City in a special program. So to really engage the students and show them that there is not only change going on around them, but room for their voice to be a part of that change.
Sure. This is, and outside of the fun competition for students and for everyone to get a chance to see this, the overall Smithsonian exhibit, Crossroads, Change in Rural America, it's kind of dealing with a more serious topic, right? This is, there was a time, as I understand it from the description here from the Smithsonian, when things changed a little bit, and suddenly counties, and we definitely see this in Cache County, I know it's happening in Box Elder County, and will probably soon be happening in Rich County, even here in northern Utah, but rural populations, those who lived a rural lifestyle or even had a traditionally rural profession, suddenly they found themselves in the minority. They were surrounded by not Salt Lake City, large cities, but much larger cities, and it changed the way of life, right?
Absolutely. And there are all kinds of different ways that manifests. across the country, and this exhibit is national, and it features stories, heartwarming stories alongside tragic stories. And then also, as part of the programming for this exhibit, there's an essay that's been written, and it's available for free online, and also physical copies if you come to our museum, called Rural Utah at a Crossroads. And it touches on the impact on farmland, and it touches on the impact on historic downtown Main Streets. But the definition of rural is, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it's actually very limited. And most of these communities, as you're mentioning, in Box Elder, in Logan, don't even meet the definition of rural just because of the population density.
Sure. And that means, that life changes, quality of life hopefully goes up, but still it's change, and change can be hard. This is also something that I think for a lot of us, not just in a nostalgic way, though there is that, but also recognizing that rural lifestyle, rural professions are really important. They're still a big part of our economy, agriculture, for example, and seeing things change maybe as quickly as we are these days. It does create a lot of anxiety out there, and I like that the Smithsonian has this traveling crossroads exhibit to recognize that, and I would assume the goal here, Alana, is to get people talking about it as well.
Yes, absolutely. A big part of the goal behind this is community conversations. Talking about what these changes mean. And really, as you're discussing a celebration of rural lifestyle, this isn't, a eulogy. This isn't saying that the rural ways of life are necessarily going away, but celebrating what those things mean, what they contribute to our community, what they contribute to our economy, and what they contribute to our family life, which again brings us back to bringing the students in and getting their perspective on it.
Sure. And again, a unique opportunity for Northern Utah's K-12 students, an invitation from the Brigham City Museum to submit essay and art recognizing this in some way, dealing with, documenting, or even just exhibiting yourself in your essay or art, rural America or a change in rural America. The winners of this competition will be selected to be a part of this Smithsonian Institution traveling exhibit, which will open May 3rd at the Brigham City Museum. The competition itself, the student essay and art competition to be a part of the exhibit for the winners, starts March 1st and runs until March 31st. And Alana, what should parents out there listening right now, what should they consider, and what's the first step for making an entry into the competition?
The first step I would recommend is just to go to our website, brighamcitymuseum.org, and under the news section, you can see the announcement about this competition, links, and the form to submit student artwork. Parents can also reach out to the museum. They can call us, message us on Facebook, any of the normal ways. And one of the things, some teachers across districts are going to be incorporating this into their curriculum, but I would also encourage them to reach out to their children's teachers, and because we've been working on getting this as part of an extra credit project if it's not as part of the curriculum for this spring. So just gauge the interest in your child in participating in this, and then reach out to us and see what that could look like. And we're, again, so excited to see what the incredibly talented and creative students of our communities are going to produce because of this.
I am too. To get the perspective of young people who are, watching this change happen just as the rest of us are, and how rural life, some of the challenges that exist today, some of those that existed in the past or may exist in the future. You can even write an essay or present artwork dealing with what you think the future of rural communities looks like. As Alana has mentioned, some great prompts for potential entries into this student competition at brighamcitymuseum.org. I've also linked to that, as well as a full description of entry requirements and things like that, and the exhibit itself opening in May. That is all linked on our Facebook page. But again, visit brighamcitymuseum.org. And again, the Crossroads Change in Rural America Traveling Smithsonian Institution exhibit opens May 3rd at the Brigham City Museum and runs until June 22nd. But ahead of that, local students, K-12 students in Box Elder County, invited to be a part of this student essay and art competition for the Crossroads Show. And that begins March 1st, runs March 31st. And really excited, Alana, to see what the winners present and how this is incorporated into the Smithsonian Traveling exhibit in May. And thank you so much for taking some time for KVNU today. We'll definitely check in again soon, because it seems there's never a shortage of things going on there at the museum.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I look forward to the next time we get to talk to you.
Absolutely. And thank you again for making the time for us today. To our listeners for making the time to tune in as well. brighamcitymuseum.org, where you can find a description of the competition and requirements, some prompts for essays and artwork, and also the full calendar for the Brigham City Museum, including this upcoming Smithsonian Institute traveling exhibit, Crossroads Change in Rural America. It opens May 3rd again. Ahead of that, though, local students K through 12 invited to submit essay and art competition entries to be a part of the exhibit when it opens. That competition begins March 1st and runs through March 31st. One more time, brighamcitymuseum.org. Our guest again has been director of the Brigham City Museum, Alana Blumenthal. Thank you to Alana. Thank you to our listeners. And we'll be back right after this.
By George! Daryl's Appliance Present Day Sale is a great time to buy appliances. This is Jay from Daryl's Appliance. Get the lowest price on Whirlpool, Maytag, and GE appliances, and save an extra 10% on scratch and dent appliances. Interest-free financing available. Stop in to check out the presidential savings in the store on Whirlpool and KitchenAid appliances. Hurry, this sale ends soon. Daryl's west on Airport Road, open until 6 p.m. on weekdays, 5 on Saturday.
If you love them enough to listen to them practice the same song on tuba,
please be done.
Over and over and over and over and over, then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're correctly buckled in the back seat.
Sounds good, honey.
Check today at nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Hi, this is Gordon Deal. Friday on This Morning, America's First News. Will this weekend turn into a political coronation for Donald Trump? He'll be speaking at the CPAC convention during the South Carolina primary. Also, doctors are thinking differently about annual exams. This includes how often they're needed and what's done during patient visits, and strategies for planning your spring break getaway. Friday on This Morning, America's First News. From 4 to 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM, your station for news and talk.
As you get older, it's more important than ever to eat healthy. But that can be hard for those of us who are retired and living on a fixed income, especially during COVID-19. A friend told me about benefitscheckup.org. It's a free website from the National Council on Aging, and it's helped millions of older Americans pay for healthy food. Maybe it can help you. Benefitscheckup.org. You've earned this. This message is supported by the Administration for Community Living.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. It's getting a lot of traction because it was something that has a legislative tie-in, but a lot of folks have been interested in our interview Monday with Logan City School Logan City School District Superintendent Frank Schofield and Logan educators. Let's see, we had Peyton Falslev, who teaches fifth grade at Bridger Elementary, and Juan Caballero, who teaches social studies at Logan High School. And we're having kind of a big general conversation about technology in the classroom, even social media in the classroom. but from a different angle than what you're hearing at the legislature right now, which is all focused on, which are, I mean, this is a fair focus. It's a real risk, but the risks and dangers of social media for young people. On Monday, not meaning to, we here on the show provided a counterweight to the debate where we had educators talking about the positive role of technology and social media when used correctly and creatively in a child's education or even directly in the classroom. My favorite story that Juan told was, every kid's familiar with Facebook, even though most kids in K-12 schools these days consider Facebook something for the old people. They're all on the Instagram and the ticky-tacky, I think is what we call it.
Tic-tac?
Yeah, the ticky-tacky. That's a Saturday Night Live skit. Still makes me laugh. But they're familiar with Facebook. And so Juan told a story of in a classroom where he was. So the goal of the lesson that day was he needed to teach kids about, in general, teaching kids about, historical figures from a certain era. But they were going to be talking about Henry VIII. And if you know anything about Henry VIII, this wasn't a friendly guy. This was, he beheaded all of his wives. He made a lot of enemies, was a bit of an untrustworthy fella, and not respected in that respect. And
he's someone who, if you're a woman and he made a proposal towards you, you might be wise to think long and hard about it.
Yeah, he was a bitter, angry man, and he managed to hold on to rule for quite some time through outright tyranny, one of the less admirable figures in history, let's put it that way. But Juan had to teach high school students about him in a way that would be memorable for them. Not just so they'd pass a test, but so that they'd actually learn something. And so he decided what he was going to do is he created this Facebook knockoff called Fakebook. And he didn't.
Which is an actual app, right?
Yeah. Yeah, he didn't create it. It's an actual app, and you can create these fake, and it's meant just for humor, And so he created these profiles for these historical figures, including Henry VIII, Henry VIII's wife, the Pope, and he gave students access to these fake Facebook accounts, and he said, if Facebook had been around in Henry VIII's time, what would his daily status updates have read like? And he asked students to write status updates on Facebook for Henry VIII. That, to me, is a really, really creative way to use technology and at least the concept of social media in education. But again, I bring this up again today because it actually made its way into legislative debate. Our interview and Bill's story off of our interview got a mention in a committee hearing where they were talking about the social media bills, which seek to ban and curfew and all the things that we tried in the drug war to prevent kids from using drugs that didn't work. We're just repeating those lessons. And this was brought up as an example of why lawmakers might not want to go too far in restricting young people's access to technology and social media, even in the classroom, because it can be used positively. And that was on display on our show Monday. So grab the podcast if you missed it. It was a great hour. And we'll be back with more of KVNU's For the People. Talk about what other trouble lawmakers made today on Capitol Hill right after these headlines with KVNU's Bill Walter.
Thank you, Jason. KVNU News Time is 5:31, and the news is brought to you by Bell Medical. A 21-year-old Logan man has been arrested for raping a coworker in a church parking lot on Valentine's Day, according to law enforcement. Jarek Anthony Lindholm was booked Wednesday into the Cache County Jail after being questioned by police. According to an arrest affidavit, a woman called Logan police claiming Lindholm had threatened to physically hurt his wife and adopted daughter if she did not have sex with him. The woman later explained how she had never met the suspect's family face to face. The alleged victim explained to police how Lindholm had told her that he was often possessed by a mythical demon. She would also receive text messages occasionally from the suspect's supposed wife and child, but they were always from Jarek's phone number. The woman claimed Lindholm contacted her on February 14th, saying he was being possessed. He reportedly told her if she didn't pick him up at his home, he would hurt his daughter, according to the arrest affidavit. The alleged victim said she picked up Lindholm and was told to drive to a church parking lot near 645 Trail Circle, where she was raped. The suspect then ordered her to drive them to a restaurant. The woman told police that at the time of the assault, she was afraid that if she didn't follow Lindholm's orders, he would hurt his family members. She said the suspect acted like he was being possessed at the time, according to a probable cause statement. On Wednesday, police contacted Lindholm at his home, where they executed a search warrant to seize his electronic devices. He admitted to often hearing voices in his head during the past year, but claimed his supposed wife and daughter did not exist. Lindholm told officers that he couldn't remember the assault because he was being possessed. Officers searched his electronic devices, though, and found he had researched topics about how law enforcement investigates rape the day after the assault. He also searched for attorneys in the area. Lindholm was booked into jail on suspicion of committing rape, object rape, and forcible sodomy, all first-degree felonies. He's being held pending arraignment in Logan's 1st District Court. And Rockin' Fossil Day on the USU campus is a yearly event that always draws inquiring minds of all ages to campus. This year's event, which is held at the iconic Geology Building on the USU Quad, is Saturday from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Admission is free. Presentations throughout the day include one from the USU Eastern's Prehistoric Museum staff in Price, and also from the Cache Rock and Gem Club. Others deal with earthquakes and fossil collecting in Utah, as well as careers in geosciences. Ellen Imler of the Department of Geosciences said one of the most popular events draws guests with an invitation to bring their own mystery rocks, fossils, and even possible meteorites for identification by USU geologists. She said there's always a long line for that one. Fossil digging and other craft activities are also popular among children. You can get more information by calling 435-797-1273. And Deseret Industries in American Fork was evacuated on Wednesday after police said a bomb threat was made toward the business. According to Lieutenant Stuart Four with the American Fork Police Department, the report was received at around 6:30 p.m. at the store. All employees and customers were evacuated while officials investigated the scene. Although it remained unclear how long the evacuation order was in place, Forrest said the threat was determined to be a hoax and the incident remained under investigation. KBNU News Time is 5:35.
Curious about Bell Sculpt and what sets it apart from other cosmetic treatments? At Bell Medical, we specialize in minimally invasive body sculpting, which means no general anesthesia, so you're awake and comfortable throughout. You can even watch fat being removed. Unlike those who freeze fat cells, we permanently remove them, providing instant results in just one visit. With Bell Sculpt, you're guaranteed 2 to 5 inches of fat loss, all in a safe and effective way. Schedule your free consultation at our Bountiful Clinic at bellmedical.com. That's BELLE medical.com.
ABC News, I'm Daria Albinger. Odie has landed. It's expected to start sending pictures home soon. NASA Administrator Bill Nelson.
A new adventure in science, innovation, and American leadership in space. Well, all of that aced the landing of a lifetime.
Odie, which is short for Odysseus, is the first U.S.-made spacecraft to land on the moon in more than 50 years. The U.S. will impose more than 500 new sanctions on Russia tomorrow as the invasion of Ukraine nears the 2-year mark. A former FBI informant who claims to have links to Russian intelligence and who is charged with lying about the president and his son Hunter is in custody again. Sources tell ABC News a software update gone wrong was the cause of today's massive AT&T wireless outage. Stocks closed higher today, the Dow and the S&P in record territory. This is ABC News.
KVNU weather for tonight. We do have a dense fog advisory in effect for the Cache Valley starting at 7 o'clock this evening going till noon Friday. Visibility of 1/4 of a mile or less tonight in dense fog. And so that could affect driving conditions, could be hazardous due to low visibility. Overnight low tonight into the low 20s, and then once the fog burns off tomorrow, mostly sunny skies and around 38 for the high. It's been to 42. It's 40 right now at KVNU. KVNU weather brought to you by Napa Auto Parts. Find the parts and oil to keep your cars and equipment running smoothly at your 5 locally owned Napa Auto Parts locations from Preston to Providence. Get more news at CacheValleyDaily.com.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring wellness home.
For the last 27 years, we've been honored to serve our community as the highest rated home medical supplier in Utah. Hi, I'm Jay Broadbent with Alpine Home Medical. Our commitment to exceptional customer service is at the heart of everything we do, and our team is always here to make sure you get the care and products you need. Whether it's oxygen solutions, CPAP supplies, or expert home safety advice, we do it all. As a Best in State winner for the last 14 years and highest rated on Google, Alpine Home Medical is not just a provider, we're a trusted partner in your healthcare journey. So swing by any of our 11 locations today and experience firsthand what makes Alpine Home Medical a 5-star experience. See us at alpinehomemedical.com.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring wellness home.
That's alpinehomemedical.com.
I'm Jason Walton. In business, I mentor hundreds of Utahns as they pursue their American dream. The same dream career politicians treat with contempt. They send our money to our enemies abroad while shortchanging our veterans at home. It's not right. They're letting drug cartels escort criminals and terrorists across our border. It's time to stand up. So I'm running for the United States Senate. Stand with me. I'm Jason Walton, and I approve this message.
Paid for by friends of Jason Walton for Senate.
Glenn Beck. Let me play a little bit of the testimony on Capitol Hill from the presidents of Harvard, MIT, and Penn. They were asked about, the calls for genocide of all the Jews on their campus. Listen to this.
I've heard chants, which can be anti-Semitic depending on the context, and calling for the elimination of the Jewish people.
Okay. Well, sometimes when you call for the genocide of Jewish people, you're not being anti-Semitic at all.
Right. The Glenn Beck Program.
Sunday afternoons from 2 to 5 on News Talk KVNU.
I'm Henry the Eighth, I am. Henry the Eighth, I am. I got married to the widow next door.
Great song.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. Oh, man.
If you're in a bad mood, you just got to listen to that song by the Herman's Hermits, and it'll instantly make your day better.
Yeah. And why it was about Henry VIII, no one will ever know. Even if you read the lyrics, you won't figure that out.
Henry VIII. I got married to the widow next door, and she's been married 8 times before, and everyone was a Henry.
I've read through the entire song, and good luck figuring out what they're talking about, but everybody knows that song. That reminded me when Bill mentioned that we were going to come back to that. I had to travel south to an area, and I was forced to click. Well, I'm always curious, so I click through when I'm in somewhere I don't live. I click through local stations just to kind of hear what people are doing, and I caught a morning show out of Salt Lake. They were talking about the Monkees, Mike Nesbitt and Mickey Dolenz specifically. And they were talking about having met them at Lagoon years ago. They played at Lagoon, and anyway, so they're having this long conversation about it.
I wish I would have caught them back in the 80s when they kind of went on a major tour.
Well, it was interesting. They piqued my interest, and so I just started when I was back at the computer later on in the day. I just kind of Googled what are the so there's only one monkey left.
Yes,
Mickey Dolenz. But I was curious, and I just started clicking around, Googling stuff, killing time, basically waiting for a phone call. And I learned some things. I learned that now everybody knows the Monkees were originally kind of like the first manufactured boy band. And then they sort of evolved.
Called the Prefab Four.
Yeah, they were recruited for their looks and their age, and it was exactly what happened with the manufacturing in Sync and the Backstreet Boys and this type of thing. But then they evolved into actual musicians and artists.
And some of them were musicians.
Yeah,
Mike Nesmith came from a music background. Peter Tork. He was a folk singer in New York, one-time roommate of Stephen Stills back in the early 60s. And Davy Jones came from a musical theater background. I think Mickey Dolenz was the only one who was like a working Hollywood actor who won the part of the drummer.
Yeah, they were, and there were these secretive competitions and.
Casting call that went out to hundreds. They went through hundreds of auditions.
Well, and I learned that some pretty famous people auditioned, famous child actors of the time. A certain someone that went on to become famous as part of the Brady Bunch auditioned to be a monkey. Yeah, oh. Greg, the oldest brother.
Yeah,
and
he would have been. Yeah, I can see why they turned him down. He would have been a little too young.
Yeah, they said he was too young. They were looking for... They wanted people that were believable as maybe teenagers, but also...
Late teens.
Yeah. So they wanted them to also appear adult to some.
Well, and Stephen Stills. See, that's how Peter Tork got the gig. Because Stephen Stills flew out to L.A. to audition, but they told Stills that... said, you may not really be too old, but you look too old for the part. And so he went back and told his roommate, Peter Tork, he said, hey, you should try this. You should try out.
Stills has looked like he's 40 since he was 20.
It's probably the same thing if Keith Richard had auditioned. They'd say, no, you just,
He's like 75 since he was 21. That's... Well, so here's some things that I learned, some random trivia I learned when not expecting the Monkees to come up in my week at all. But again, hearing this conversation on a Salt Lake station, and I never found out why they were talking about the Monkees. I couldn't find an event to explain why they were spending so much time on the Monkees. But then I started Googling when I got back and was at the computer, and I started, and I learned a couple of things. The first thing I learned is their song "Stepping Stone." I'm Not Your Stepping Stone.
Yeah.
It was a hit for the Monkees, obviously, released in 1966. But I didn't know this. It was, two things. It wasn't released as a single. It was released as a B-side to a single, and it became more popular than the single, actually. But I didn't know this about that song, I'm Not Your Stepping Stone. It is, for a period of 10 years, 1966 to 1967, it was the most covered and reinterpreted song of that decade.
Really?
Yeah.
Everybody had give it a try.
47 different bands recorded a version of I'm Not Your Stepping Stone. Which is funny because if you listen to the song, it's not the Monkees' best. And I assume it wasn't anyone's best when they covered it. But 47 different bands, most of which you've never heard of because they came and went. But some bands that actually had some longevity covered the song. 47 different bands covered the Monkees' I'm Not Your Stepping Stone after its release in 1966. I didn't know that. The second thing I learned, and I'm gonna preface this with a warning. I went and listened. I don't recommend that you do, but it's funny to know it exists. But I had no idea this existed. But I found it online. But last fall, actually, Mickey Dolenz released an EP of songs. Every single one of them on CD and vinyl and digital. Every single one of them an REM cover. And like I said, I listened. I don't recommend that you do.
Everybody Hurts, or
it's called Dolenz Sings REM, apt title. It has 4 tracks. That's it. and he covered REM's "Shiny Happy People," one of the more annoying REM songs. One of their earliest.
They got a lot of radio airplay back in the day.
Yeah, it was. I think it was REM's biggest radio hit of their career. But
the video is funny to that.
Yeah, and I liked the song at first. It just got old fast, and then it just kept being around. He also covered one of REM's earliest songs, "Radio Free Europe." One of my favorite REM songs, "Man on the Moon." He covered, and then he covered "Leaving New York." I listened to.
I'm not as familiar with "Leaving New York."
It's an older song. It's a slower song. I'm not. So first off, I'm not the world's biggest REM fan. They have some good songs. I don't think I've ever liked an entire album all the way through. But I am just warning everybody. It's fun to know that the last surviving member of the Monkees, Mickey Dolenz, made an REM album, an EP with 4 covers. It's fun to know
it
that. It
might be a collector's item someday. You never know.
Maybe you want to own a copy because it could be.
Just hang on to it, put it in the safe.
Yeah, never break the seal. Not only because it will be worth more when you do finally decide to sell it at an auction 50 years from now, but also because 2023's Mickey Dolenz Sings REM is awful. Because he's singing these songs like he's still in the Monkees. So imagine the Monkees singing "Shiny Happy People," which was already pretty monkey-like.
Which was kind of poppy, a real poppy song.
It just doesn't work. But I have to admit, I want to kind of know the impetus for this.
He must have been a big REM fan.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Now,
there is.
Former REM, I say former because the band doesn't exist anymore, but REM frontman Michael Stipe was very excited about this. He loved the EP, and apparently he actually helped Dolenz select the songs to cover.
Okay.
So, and he said his favorite one was Mickey's cover of "Shiny Happy People." He said in an interview with New Music Express, Stipe said, "Shiny Happy People sounds incredible in Mickey's voice." And he urged everybody to buy Dolenz version over the REM version. He said it was that good. I disagree, Michael. I thought it was awful, and it just doesn't translate well.
Now, I wonder if he will recompense and sing some monkey songs.
That's by the way, I didn't know this either, but he did play some of the songs, the REM songs that he covered for this EP released in November last year in a tour. He actually toured last year. It was a small tour, mainly spots in California, 4 shows in California in September, and then Ohio, Missouri, Illinois, and Indiana in October. Just a handful of shows. But he's still touring.
He joked some years ago, I think when all of them were still around, he just said, well, if they all die off before me, I'll just perform as the monkey.
Yeah. That's what he's doing. His tour is called Mickey Dolenz Honors the Monkees. That was the name of his 2023 tour. By the way, REM and the Monkees, when more of them were alive, actually, I guess, had a pretty close relationship. Peter Buck, REM's guitarist, he played on the Monkees' final album, Christmas Party. And
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And actually co-wrote one of the songs.
Well, they had, and we played it here on KBNU. They, during their revival in the late 80s, they had, I'm trying to figure out this. That was then, this is now, or something. I don't even know if we have that in our system, but I remember we played that.
Yeah, that was
here on the station back in our music days.
Now that you reminded me, that was actually a pretty decent song. But yeah, some things that you didn't need to know, but are probably glad you do know about the only surviving monkey, Mickey Dolenz. He made an REM cover album.
If you have a date tonight with somebody, a new date, and you don't know what to talk about, that's some random trivia you can bring up.
Yeah, just don't listen to it. Buy it, collect it, anything. Don't listen to it. We'll be back with more For the People right after this.
Want to set yourself apart from the competition? The Leadership MBA at Utah State University will help you lead companies and drive change in your organization. You can attend in person in Logan on Thursday evenings or take an interactive online class. Complete your MBA in as little as a year. Apply before March 1st to be considered for summer semester. Contact the MBA office for a waiver of the $55 application fee. Learn more at utahstatemba.com. That's utahstatemba.com.
Cache Valley Chamber of Commerce invites you to attend the annual Awards Gala on Friday, March 8th at the Riverwoods Conference Center. Enjoy a wonderful evening of fine dining and recognition of Cache Valley's outstanding businesses and individuals, including Citizen of the Year, Legacy Business of the Year, New Event of the Year, Project of the Year, Woman of the Year, and more. Don't miss the Cache Chamber Awards Gala Friday, March 8th at the Riverwoods Conference Center. Reserve your seat at cashchamber.com or call 435-752-2161.
Friday edition, Clay Travis, Buck Sexton Show. It is the eve of the South Carolina primary. Any drama at all coming from there? What do we think the discussion will be like on Monday as it surrounds the Republican primary? Plus, Buck.
Doctor is in the house, as in Dr. Phil. We'll have him on the show for the first time. Much to discuss with him about the state of America these days on Clay and Buck.
10 to 1 on News Talk KVNU, 102 FM at 610 AM.
That's the one. From the Monkees, brief revival.
There's the crowd screaming for the Monkees.
Yeah, that was then, this is now.
And Mickey Dolenz singing that.
And that song, even though that late 80s revival was brief, that song made him a lot of money.
Yeah.
It was a big hit.
Well, I think it all kind of started, I think MTV started replaying
Monkees videos and Monkees
shows. And, a new generation said, hey, Mom and Dad, you never told me about these guys. They're great.
It was funny and campy and it was... it led to this Monkees revival. They then went on I think a world tour, maybe a couple times over after that. I know at least one.
Maybe that's when they came to Lagoon. I don't know.
It was a pretty big deal.
And for a while, Mike Nesmith it was just Mickey, Peter, and Davey. Mike Nesmith wanted no part of it.
He wanted to be an actor. He wanted to be in Hollywood. That didn't pan out either, but.
Well, and he didn't. His mom was an executive secretary in Dallas and had invented liquid paper, and she made a fortune and left it to him. He didn't have to work. Maybe the others did have to work. I don't know.
Every time I hear that story, all I can think of is Romeo and Michelle's high school reunion. I invented Post-it notes. Well, not the Post-it notes, the glue that goes on that strip in the back. Very funny movie if you've never seen that. Shifting gears here as we wrap up the show, I talked about this yesterday and the day before, and I'm going to talk about it more because transparency is important to me, and we have a problem here in Utah. It's been growing for the last 3-4 years, but it seems to have hit a bit of a high point, low point in the legislative session this cycle, and it's a general disdain after a decade plus of leadership in the House and the governor's office that not only embrace transparency and access, but were looking for ways actively to increase it. I had the personal luck and timing to be a part of some of this. I was part of the group that helped to develop and get the legislature to fund something called opendata.utah.gov, which is basically a one-stop shop repository for every single bit of data the state has. Now, obviously, that's for experienced and high-end users of data, but it's all there in one spot finally, and you don't have to submit a records request to see it. And that's everything from salaries to water quality studies to, in fact, recently there was data uploaded on the average amount of student loan debt students from USU and U of U leave school with here in Utah. And it's just an amazing thing. And this was actually, the legislature embraced this and actively sought out ways to increase it. And then along come Brad Wilson and Stuart Adams in the Senate President role and Speaker of the House role. And it looks like Mike Schultz, who's replaced Wilson at this point, plans to carry this sputtering torch forward. They take the opposite direction. They have Stuart Adams, and I'm speaking from personal experience, having had conversations with him when we've worked together on records law work groups and things like that. He has an attitude that transparency, he's indifferent towards it. Transparency just gets in the way. He's not against it. He doesn't want to intentionally keep any secrets, but if it'll grease the wheels and speed things up to keep things from the public, he won't say no. Schultz, unfortunately, seems to have a similar attitude. And I'm trying to raise the alarm on this because it's snowballing. In response to the things I've talked about already, these three bills specifically, one bill that would make secret name, image, and likeness contracts of college athletes at universities here in Utah. That's a bill that will be considered before the final day, a week from tomorrow. A second bill that would make the amount of water public golf courses, taxpayer-funded golf courses use, a state secret. I mean, that is a handout. That is someone came to the legislature and says, we don't want the public to know how much water we're using, and the legislature said, okay. And finally, a bill that would create this water development council and a water agent for the state that would be exempt from open meetings laws and other transparency requirements. So they could go out and make water contracts with other states and never have to tell you about it, which President Stuart Adams, the sponsor of that bill, has said that's to speed things up. I mean, right there, he's saying it. Transparency would slow things down. Well, tough cookies. You're spending taxpayer money. We're paying you to go do this job. You have to tell us what you're doing. Also, this bill in the news just recently that wants to make elected officials' public calendars, the work they're doing when on the clock, a public secret, or a secret from the public. Shameful stuff. Well, journalism professor at BYU, Joel Campbell, lit them up today in an op-ed. I posted a link to it, and basically he said this attitude is shameful. And he calls out Speaker of the House Mike Schultz by name, saying that Schultz needs to realize that the media, journalists, are not antagonists. If there's nothing to be held accountable for, i.e. if you're not doing anything, the news stories shouldn't hurt your feelings. If the news stories hurt your feelings, maybe you're the problem, not the journalists reporting accurately on what the legislature's up to. Well said, Joel. Read the whole op-ed. I've linked to it on our Facebook page. That's our show for today. Dave Ramsey next here on KVNU.